Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In today's video, I'm going to bring you into chapter 4. This is the behavioral coaching chapter, and I want to talk specifically about how to deal with or memorize, or at least get familiar with table 4.1, because for the most part, I'll get questions from students that are constantly asking me, how do I memorize this? Is there a way to use mnemonics or any other ways that are going to help me to memorize all the material? And for sure, if there are specific ways that you use, for instance, creating, like I say, mnemonics and some of the other techniques that can be very effective for memorization, absolutely use those. But I like to kind of do a dual method of understanding the material well enough to where any of those memorization techniques can actually be helpful. Now, if you go through the NASM exam study guide, you'll notice that chapter 4 is what's known as a moderate priority chapter. And remember, that term moderate priority has nothing to do with the quality of the information. It just simply speaks to the number of questions or amount of questioning you're going to get from this particular chapter. You can expect to get a fair number of questions. It's not the highest priority. You're probably not going to get 20 questions on the exam from chapter 4, but you're going to get a fair amount. And NASM puts it at the beginning of the textbook because it's important. It really is important information. The behavioral coaching aspect of personal training, appears to be becoming more and more of a higher level priority, not just knowing exercise science, for instance, and some nutrition. So in chapter 4, and I'm on page 87 in the textbook, the chapter obviously starts off with introduction to behavioral coaching, and then you get to table 4.1. It's probably one of the more important areas of chapter 4 that you're going to have to know. And I just want to kind of run through this with you and show you the basic techniques. Now, most of the videos that I do, I'm going to give you a very general sort of tips and guides on just studying specifically for a particular area, but I'll give you the general ways that I would recommend that you study. Now, first off, you got to know your learning style, right? Number one, know how your brain works. If you are a certain type of learner and you're trying to learn the way you were told to learn in elementary school and high school or even college, it's going to be frustrating for you. So this is one of the reasons why I get lots of questions. It's too much information. No, it's not. Your brain, the human brain, can deal with all of this and 10 times this information. It's how you get it in there, right? That's the key. So for instance, if you're a tactile learner, I always recommend getting some sort of tactile stimulatory device. It's just a squeezy ball, folks, right? And while you're studying and looking and watching videos, this and that, if you have this could actually help you if you're a tactile learner. If you find yourself doing this all the time and you can't stay still for more than 10, 15 minutes, that's a great idea. It's a tip to use. If you're like a visual learner, all you like to do is watch. And once you do this and your hands do this, you ain't studying anymore. This is not studying. Reading is not studying. You got to write things down. I don't care what type of learner you are, by the way. The read or rewrite method of studying and learning and memorizing is critical, no matter what the situation is. The problem is that when you're doing that, if you are an auditory learner and you like to listen, you're going to start to read and write. It might be helpful to have some Mozart in the background. Yeah, I like Mozart. Beethoven, something like that in the background. Do not have music that has words. That's not a good thing. I know some of you like that. It's not a question if you like it or not. Turn that music off and use music that doesn't have any words. Okay. By the way, stop. If you want to ask me why, do it in the comments section below, right there. By the way, you go through any of these videos, put a comment section, put it on pause, put me on pause, and then write in the comment section, Doug, why did you recommend using music without words? I may do another video on that. So back to table 4.1, behavior change techniques. That's what we're talking about today. To improve coaching interventions that change behavior, certified personal trainers need to identify appropriate behavior change techniques. Folks, at the end of the day, all NASM is trying to help you to understand with a table like this is in the real world, how do you get somebody to stop eating like crap? How do you get somebody to come in on a regular basis? Because your clients are going to come in and they're going to be late and they're going to miss workouts. Your clients are not going to eat properly. They're not going to exercise on their off days, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's why they're giving you this information. And there are some ways, there are some techniques that you can help you, because you can't force people to do things. You've got to use these, I guess you would say, somewhat subtle techniques. So understanding that right from the get-go will help you to understand and study. Now, the basic tip for studying and learning, memorizing, listen how I say this, memorizing to learn it. See, some of you out there are saying to yourself, I just don't want to memorize. I just don't want to memorize stuff. What are you talking about? That's what learning is. Learning starts with memorizing things, especially when we're talking about academic material. Learning starts with memorization. It's the only way you can pull that stuff back out and use it in a learned environment. It's the only way that works. So you've got to memorize this stuff to understand it. And so I hope that helps. Again, comment box if you have any questions on this. Table 4.1, what is your desired outcome? This is where this comes in, ladies and gentlemen. Got to have a pad, you got to have paper. For you visual learners, don't just watch the video and sit there and go, ooh, that's really interesting. Don't do that. Okay, if it's interesting, that's great. Watch the video, pick up your pen and start writing this down. Take table 4.1. This is my standard recommendation on dealing with tables. Rewrite the table. Now, but here's the difference. I don't want you to rewrite their entire table. What I want you to do is write, well, let me see if I can draw this out for you. I'll do it while I'm talking to you. So I do the table. Now I've got lined paper. That was a mistake, but I'll use the back. I got plain white paper. And then I draw a chart and I write behavior change techniques. I'm not going to write it out while I'm doing the video for you. Desired outcome. I write desired outcome, and that's a column. And I'm going to look at the first desired outcome on table 4.1. What is it? Improved self-efficacy. If I want to help somebody with their self-efficacy, and what is self-efficacy? It's the belief that you can get things done. It's the belief that you can accomplish tasks and complete goals, right? That's self-efficacy. It's not self-deception. You ain't going to be an astronaut just because you think you can be an astronaut. And it takes a lot more than just thinking about it. Self-efficacy is it's a belief that you actually can. And there's ways and reasons why you increase self-efficacy. But I want to help people increase their self-efficacy, because the higher your self-efficacy, the more you'll actually feel motivated and encouraged and all the other adjectives that go along with this to actually get stuff done, i.e. losing body fat, losing weight, whatever, eating well, exercising on a regular basis. That's what increased self-efficacy will do. You develop this intrinsic motivation, increased self-efficacy, increased intrinsic motivation to get things done. What are the techniques then? Well, if improving self-efficacy, well, one of them is to set specific tasks. And I can write that down, set specific tasking. Now, here's just an idea. This is one of the ways that I can help you memorize. Instead of writing 3 words, set specific tasking, I can trigger the concept with just 1 word, task or tasking. So the way you study and the way you sort of compress this material into a way that your brain can get it and understand it is compress the amount of words they gave you into fewer terms. It's one way to do it. It's actually pretty helpful. So now improve self-efficacy, tasking, provide instructions, instruct. And that's what I would write, instruct. So 1 is tasking, next is instruct, practice for mastery. Well, I would just write mastering or mastery, right? Practice for that. Communicate positively. I don't know. I guess I could say communicate. I'm not going to communicate negatively. So I just want to use 1 word. And if I say communicate and put a positive sign next to it, that'll help me. my ability to memorize this now is a whole lot better, more efficient than if I just wrote the entire thing that they gave me. That's not incorrect. This is correct. It's good material. I'm just trying to get it in my brain in an easier way so that I'm not overwhelmed with all this material. Hope that makes sense. Now, so I write that, and then I go down to the next desired outcome, which is positive outcome expectations and attitudes. Why, by the way, why is this important? Because you're going to get a question. You'll get questions like this on the test. And you need to be able to have known or memorized enough to where the proper triggering occurs when a question is asked, so that when you read a question and you see the question talks about improving self-efficacy and the behavioral change techniques associated with improved self-efficacy, you can trigger as soon as you see one of the answers as mastery. Okay, well, you know that's probably that might be the correct answer. All of the following except. See, but at least you have a understanding of the terms well enough to say, I remember that. Yeah, I thought that was one. So that can't be the answer. And that's how you deal, by the way, that's how you deal with logistically working through these, working through the questions. So I know I'm jumping back and forth from the questioning component on a test to the materials, but the reason you're doing the materials is so you can pass questions and pass these exams, right? That's the goal. So 4.1 definition. What is the definition of setting specific tasks? Break down exercises or goals into easy. Don't write all this down, folks. That's not the way I want you to memorize the material. I want you to write this in a way that makes sense to you. So read it, break down exercises or goals into easier to achieve tasks, build the stepping stones for progressively more challenging exercises or behaviors. So now I look at the definition and I say, how can I get that into a couple of words? Because that's what has to trigger it for me. I just got to have a couple of words that help me to make the necessary equation between the desired outcome and the behavior change technique. Break down exercises or goals into easier to achieve tasks. That's about it. I would write break down into easy tasking, something like that. I want you to write your own words that make sense. That whole second sentence, build the stepping stones for progressively more challenge. I wouldn't even put that in my rewrite, because I only need a couple of terms or words to create the appropriate memorization triggers that'll get me back to what the desired outcome was. I hope that makes sense. Again, comment section below if it does, or question mark or something like that. Provide instructions. And all I'm doing now on this entire table is I'm looking for areas where I can compress what they wrote, physically compress the total amount of words and sentences into smaller and smaller amounts to create the necessary memorization trigger that'll help me when I go to take a test. This is a great technique to use, and you're going to use it. You watch any of the videos that we do, you're going to use it on pretty much every relevant table, okay, that you get to in these books. This technique also is very helpful in other areas that you study. Now look, table 4.1 is probably one of, and you'd have to look in your study guide to correlate how important it is, right, for the actual testing. But I believe table 4.1 is not only really helpful from the testing perspective, but just in a real world scenario. Also keep in mind, just as a little added bonus here, remember you have terms on the sidebars of each of these pages. Look, NASM did you a good service here by putting all the material here that you need to know and memorize. Also, the other thing before I let you go is any chapter that you go through and you're doing a full chapter study, always start at the very end. In chapter 4, by the way, even though we're talking about table 4.1, chapter 4 on page 111, they give you the summary. Every chapter does this summary, chapter review. It's like crib notes for the chapter. It's really, really good. And then the chapter highlights right there. Those chapter highlights on page 112. You got chapter highlights for every chapter. one of the best areas to spend a little bit of time. Remember, this always goes back to how much study time do you have? When are you sitting for your exam? How much study time are you putting in each day? That gives you a really good idea how you can structure your schedule to work your way towards the actual exam. Okay, so table 4.1, behavioral change techniques. I hope you got this figured out. Each one of those, just like I showed you, each one of those, write it out, do it on the table, use different color pens. They also give you different, like a different font size. See, so that gives me one size font, and that, because it's thicker, gives me another font size. All of these techniques can be helpful to get your brain to acknowledge the information and memorize it. So, okay, so chapter 4.1, if you got any suggestions even, or if this was helpful, just type the word understood or understand in the comment section below. Keep in mind, it's very, very important that you, well, I think it's important that you subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, remember also Wednesday nights, by the way, Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Wednesday night, we do a Quizlet live challenge. It's a lot of fun, 30 minutes. We just put you in a little combative, did I say combative? I meant competitive environment, to where you can participate and play this game called Quizlet Live. It helps you to move across and you win after you get 12 questions right. If you're the first one to the end, I'm not going to explain it to you. You need to come on board and participate in it with us. The way you do that, by the way, is by going to your student portal, and that's where you'll find the link. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, well, go ahead and click on the link below in the description, right, of this video, and that will take you to where you need to go so that you can ultimately get the full exam study course that we provide, and that will give you the link to get into those Wednesday night Quizlet Lives. If you have any questions, we're here to help you. Please go ahead, leave it in the comment section below. Let us know how we can provide you the assistance you need to pass your NASM exam. Have a great week. Take care.